All right, that appears to be working. And hello, there we are. All right, I don't know what StreamYard was doing. Anyway, we're live. Live. Good morning. Happy Sunday. It is June 29th, 2025. Last Sunday of the month, and I am here solo to do some Harley Quinn. We're going to try to finish this today. And really quick before we get there, hello, Stanley's Toy Channel. Nice new picture, Stanley. I like that. Anyway, really quick, we'll go over a little housekeeping one. I'm still trying to reschedule with Cobweb because we did have a stream planned Friday night, but I was not feeling well. And the old adage about Taco Bell, very true. And it just did not get better. So, oh, there we go. Hello, Thanos. So I'm going to reschedule with Cobb. We'll figure it out. We'll do a Friday night soon, as soon as we can line up. So again, I apologize for that. And sorry it was almost stream time before I was able to make myself cancel. All right. Second thing, the kittens are crazy, so they are climbing all over everything. There may be a few kitten breaks for me to move kittens out of the way. But they are at that stage, so it is what it is. And then next week I will be here with Brick something, and we're going to color some Battle of the Planets. And next month should be a full month of Sundays with guests, and then a retro cavalcade, as always, at the end of the month with Andrew and Derek and a special guest. We don't know who it will be this time, and we kind of decide as the month goes on. So that's all of those things. Yeah, so anyway, we're going to finish up Harley Quinn, hopefully today. Fingers crossed. Yeah, so let's get to it. We started this, I believe, at the beginning of this month. And I'm going to be using the Black Widows again, because that's what I started with. Prismacolor and Black Widow, they blend okay, but I just kind of wanted to finish this with what I use Prismacolor so much, and hardly ever use my Black Widow. So I was like, let's use the Black Widow on this, and I'd like to finish it with the Black Widow. So anyway, yeah. How is everyone? What's going on in your lives? Hope everyone is having a good weekend so far. It's my brace. Okay. Yeah, so I am feeling pretty much better today. If I wrap it up before the end of the stream, we might end early. But if not, we should be able to make it the full 2 hours. We'll just see how everything works out. Yeah, so anyway. Oh gosh, that's right. It is pretty hot in a lot of places right now. Really quick, I'm going to take the camera off because for some reason it's not focusing, and this one looks like it's my camera. So I will go off just for a second because it's super pixelated on my side of the actual camera, which is usually a sign that it's on my side. There we go. Okay. All right, there we go. Excellent. All right. Now, let's see. We've had a glut of technical issues this morning. Yeah, so hopefully everything will go smoothly the rest of the time. And if not, we'll just adapt. Yeah, we've been pretty fortunate now that we're sort of closer to the coast. It's been much cooler here than in other places. So I'm going to be thankful we have not even contemplated hooking our ACs up. When we lived up in Portland, we had sort of one of those rolling units that we'd have to break out for a couple weeks, sometimes months, during the summer. And closer to the coast, it's a lot more pleasant and moderate. We had considered getting rid of it, but we did not, because when I first moved to Oregon, nobody had air conditioning anywhere. And when I asked about it, as somebody who grew up in Texas and Louisiana, where if you don't have AC, you will die, everyone was like, oh, you don't need it. You don't need it. We'll never need it. It's nice up here. And then within like 6 or 7 years, we started having summers where you kind of needed AC. So we bought a unit, and I was like, let's just bring it just in case. In 5 or 6 years, we need it here. So first summer so far, so good. But you never know. So, and better to have everything now than to have to go and buy it later. We do need like fans and stuff, so it gets warm enough that you need that we've got like box fans and stuff through the house to keep the air circulating. So far, no AC. And I am grateful for that very much. Alright, and just sort of fiddling around with sort of the little bits and pieces and this brown. But I'm trying to remember what my plan was for the rest of this page. I kind of did not write it down last time. I usually write it down on a note card or something. So I'm just trying to ease into it. I do know I was going to use a silver glitter gel pen for the barbed wire, and then some of my paint pens for the graffiti on the wall behind her, and over here and here. The rest of it, I can't remember what color scheme I had picked out. So I'm just going to do a little bit of shading when my brain processes that. I'm going to leave the paint stuff for the end, that I don't smudge any of it. Just because she's up here, I would easily smudge all of this with my hand. I do know that I was going to do the pipes sort of gray. So I'm going to start with the charcoal green. But yeah, so this has actually been a fun book to I wasn't sure when I picked it up if I would like it. Some of the modern DC books aren't that great. This one's been pretty good. So I've been using it for a lot of the pencil test videos, which I need to finish editing one of those so that it can go up on the channel. I didn't like the pencil set. I had a not so great time in filming. My camera kept turning off while I was filming one of the pages, so I didn't have full footage. So I have to figure out how to sort of edit what I did get. Luckily, the sort of the main thing I wanted to test on the page, that part filmed all right. So I should see if I can find one of those old, like, reel missing things they used to do at the theaters when on sort of like grindhouse movies when they would lose a reel of film. And go edit that all in. I might have stuff like that. There was a point where I was editing terrible faux movie trailers together using footage from other movies to make sort of fake movies. When I was trying to learn how to edit better. And I had a bunch of elements like that. So I should go see if I still have all that. It'll be on the old laptop. But yeah, I have to figure out how to sort of edit it. And because the audio and everything was cutting out while filming that stuff, I have to do a voiceover, which means I need to write a script and have to remember what I liked and did not like about the pencils. Other than I just didn't care for them very much. It's just been happening more lately. I think just eventually you start, when you buy as many sets of pencils as I do, the law of averages, eventually you're going to get some you don't like. There we go. Hello. Oh yeah. Yeah, then they're pretty decent today. They want glitter nails. The nice thing about doing acrylics is glitter is on the table. Back when I only did my natural nails, I never did glitter because you have to get a sandblaster to get those off. But now that I'm doing acrylics myself, I will do glitter to start. It's all in the nail. It's not. So when the acrylics come off, you just dispose of them responsibly. So yeah, glitter is on the table. It's always weird. I was never one of those people when I was younger who like, oh my god, acrylics, it's all fake. It's so fake. You know, I have so much judgment. Now that I'm older, it's just easier to get the acrylics. The removal is much easier. You just kind of soak your hands and they pop off after a little bit. Whereas, again, glitter nail polish, you have to sit there with the sandblaster to get it all off. Glitter nail polish, it's not for the, like, you will build some upper body strength. Also, I use, and now I can use all of the regular nail polishes for action figure painting. So, this is one of my secrets, and that's one of my tips for when you're doing action figure painting. You just use fingernail polish. It goes down like a dream. One sewer pipe down. Hello, Oz. Lovely to see you. Hello, hello, hello. Hello, Carol. Hello. Nostrum82. I don't know what YouTube did. Like, nobody's sort of preferred names are really showing up anymore. So it's very odd. So, but, you know. We all know it's Nolan. But still, it's just odd. Like, seeing all the numbers and stuff. I wonder why they did that. It's not like they care about puppet accounts or anything. I'm gonna choose the darker one. Just need to finish these, and then we're gonna do this alleyway. think all of this is supposed to be wire, so I am going to all right. I'm gonna keep it sort of in, even though technically most wire would be like black or red or something. I'm gonna keep it sort of in earth tones, just so that once we finally get to Harley Quinn, all of her color will stand out better. It's tempting to go in there with like a blue or something. But no. But no. And this is one of my favorite colors in the Black Widow set. It's called Brown Bug, and it's like a reddish brown. It's similar to the Tuscan Red in the Prismacolor set, but it's a lot more sort of red to it. It's really good, in my opinion, for when I do like trees and stuff, to do a layer of it between the browns. Especially if I'm doing redwoods for Return of the Jedi. So I need a darker brown, chestnut. It's not a super dark brown, but it's also got red tones to it. But it'll give it a pop of color without distracting once we get to Harley Quinn. I'm gonna do these with a gel, like metallic gel pen as well. All right, now it's time for the alley. I'm going to use this opal green for the sort of water. It's a fun green in my opinion. So let's go in. And for water, I always sort of swirl a couple of different colors. I mean, it's Gotham. This water should be dirty. I think this green will work all right. Especially once I layer some more stuff in it. Let's see. Oh, there we go. Sorry, I didn't mean to leave you up like that, Nolan. Harley Quinn is super cool. It's funny, I did not care for her as much when she first debuted. I have come to appreciate Harley Quinn so much more once they moved her out of sort of being the Joker's girlfriend and made her a character on her own. I also like her and Poison Ivy together. I think they're a fun sort of, it's a fun pairing, but it makes more sense to me than like, you know, sometimes characters get together in comics and it doesn't quite make sense. But with Harley Quinn and Poison Ivy, it just sort of, the first time I saw it, I'm like, that makes perfect sense. And I think the characters work well together. I mean, a lot of that depends on who the writer is. But in general, I find writers write them well together. So very happy. Because that does not always work out when you take two established characters and make them a couple. I mean, it's not, you know, like Superman and Wonder Woman is the worst thing with the comic they ever did at DC. It just never worked. I mean, that's always, in my opinion, like just fanboys like, oh, wouldn't it be cool? And it's like, no, it would not be. Superman and Wonder Woman is a couple of junk work for a couple of reasons. Number one, part of why Superman and Lois works is because he is sort of this great superhero, and Lois Lane being a normal human woman. I mean, she's very talented, very gifted, but she's still very mortal. So to a degree, it helps keep him grounded. You know, part of what makes Superman work is his actual connections to regular mortal human beings. Part of the reason the Batman and Superman friendship works is because, despite everything, Batman is still just a man. You know, he's very highly trained and very cool, but in theory, anyone could be Batman if you had enough money. Yeah, you had enough money, you could take 7 years off and go around the world and train with the best of the best in martial arts and, you know, self-defense and learn all that stuff. You too could be Batman. And then Superman, Wonder Woman doesn't work because the whole point of Wonder Woman is sort of that, again, it's kind of like she and Steve Trevor works because it challenges Steve Trevor, who is a very typical finger-quote masculine specimen of a man. Steve Trevor has to sort of let go of the machismo and male chauvinism so that he can, you know, accept that he has a girlfriend who is stronger, more powerful, who's immortal, who will live forever, and he will not. It also helps keep her relatable because it gives human stakes, because so often, especially when she's fighting like gods and mythical monsters or whatever, like those aren't human characters. You know, the stakes are different, and it's even different, you know, like Paradise Island, Themyscira, depending on which continuity we're in. The Amazons are also immortal and have evolved scientifically and physically and in all the ways because they have been separate from society and had sort of this peaceful existence where they can just focus on learning and being better and reaching sort of the apex of what human beings are capable of. So when you stick Wonder Woman and Superman together, it ruins that, you know, what keeps the two characters grounded, and they just turn into angsty fan written. I've never read it, and you know, like I forget who wrote that Superman and Wonder Woman comic book during the New 52, but he's probably a really good writer, but it just read like fanfic. It always reads like fan fiction when you pair Wonder Woman and Superman together. Same with Wonder Woman and Batman. Like anytime they try any of that, it just doesn't work. So anyway, that's comics. My comic book hot take with Wonder Woman by Allison. Hey. Hi, Kenzo. Lovely to see you. Hope you're having a good day. Yeah, it's sort of it's a fanboy thing. I can remember on the playground there was always some dude who was like, wouldn't it be cool if they got together and had babies? No. That would be the least cool thing that could ever happen, Carl. But, you know. I mean, it's sort of the same era of DC where like they were like, well, you know, we've got to make Zeus her dad. Men can't relate to Wonder Woman because she doesn't have a dad. One of the people I was dating during that time of my life, I was really mad about that, and I said something. He was like, "It's true." I'm like, "What do you mean it's true?" He's like, "You know, she doesn't have a dad." Like, and this is one of the meanest things I've ever said to a person, but just except I was not quite the gentle, delicate flower I am in this stage of my life. And he just like, you know, you can't relate to that. She doesn't have a dad. I'm like, well, neither do you. And he got really mad, but I was just like, dude, your dad left when you were like 5 and you haven't seen him since. So, like, you've got more in common with Wonder Woman right now than you do if they give her a dad. Anyway, that relationship just didn't work out, but still. But I'm sure he's fine. Hopefully he got some therapy. And about 15% of his therapy at that point probably is because he was dating me. And that's okay. It's good to leave your mark on people so they'll always remember you. I mean, if nothing else, you should be memorable, right? I guess I could find someone to apologize to him, but at the same time, whatever. It was like 2011 or whatever. He's fine. I'm sure he's like married and got kids and no drinking problem. It's fine. He would have had all that anyway if he had no ever married. My friend was telling me the other day, you tell all these horrible stories about your exes. One day, one of them was going to jump in chat, and I'm like, I wish. But then again, like, they would then have to have enough self-reflection to figure out which of the Carls that they are. I mean, because only 3 of them were actually named Carl. They just all become Carls in retrospect. This just looks too clean for Gotham City water. But at least I make you guys smile. How are you today, Kenny? You've got Merrick this weekend, correct? Or was that just the start of the weekend? So bad at remembering stuff like that. Also, Kenny, you need to figure out your scheduling stuff so that we can start planning our regular live streams where I color and you paint and we talk smack about music and stuff. It's gonna be fun. It's like this, but with Kenzo. And at night. So to get a bit more unhinged. Well, I will say it's really cool that you guys work together so well on stuff like that. It's not always the case. So, which is too bad because only the kid is the only person who suffers when the parents can't sort of sort that stuff out. I was very lucky my parents never got divorced, although there were a few times I wish they had. They were not always the best match. But they did all right. And, when my mom passed, they were still together. Let's see, she died the year I turned 39. So she died right before what would have been their 40th anniversary. So, you know, they had a lot of ups and downs, but at the end of the day, they did make it work. So there is something to say for being so codependent for another human and so spiteful because everyone in your family told you when you were getting married that it would never last, that you guys make it 40 years. And only death actually finally broke you apart. Let's see, I think that was much darker blue. The one thing I have noticed with the paper for this this Insight Edition coloring book in the Black Widow is you have to have a really good point on the Black Widow to get the color, to get it to work. Whereas with Prisma, you can sort of lose your point a little bit on this paper. So, but for some reason, Black Widow, you have to have a really good point to get the pigment off. For those at home who actually pay attention to are here for the coloring advice in between the unhinged stories of my life. And for those who are here for both, gotta make sure you get all the things. And the only channel where you get unhinged family stories, old boyfriend stories, and coloring advice. I say that, and there's probably like 3 other channels that do that. I just haven't found them. And when I do, I'll be like, oh my god, these are my people. But I'll still be the only one who does toy content as well. So. Here we go. That water looks dirty now. Fingers crossed, knock on wood, say prayers to whatever deity you believe in. We need Kenzo to get this job. He will, though. Kenzo is, despite what losers on the internet may think, Kenzo is a cool person. So, and once you get that job, I'll tell all of our friends in your neck of the woods to go buy stuff from you. That was also a joke, Kenzo. I was joking. We all know everyone on the internet finds you completely delightful. And if they don't, they're losers. Big, big, big losers. That water is getting there. So would I. Like, I was telling somebody, I had a friend who came through a few nights ago. He crashed here overnight. He's an old friend. He's in my writers group. And he quit his job about a year ago. Sold a bunch of his stuff. Terminated his lease. and moved to Southern California to like the desert to like find himself. And he's moving back to Oregon. He went down there, got therapy, got everything he wanted. And he was asking me, like, so the YouTube thing, like, are you making money? And I was like, like, with AdSense and whatnot, it works out to about 15-20 cents a day, right? If people watch my stuff, which is money I did not have before. And I do this not for the huge payday, but because it's fun, right? It interests me. I feel like I get to use my nerdy stuff in a productive way. And if I get, like a few extra cents or whatever, that's radical. Like every little bit goes right back into buying coloring books, crowns, color pencils, art supplies, or, action figures. And the studio is in progress. It should have been done, but I got in there and I was like, I need tile on this floor. I don't want to just have the rugs and then underneath the rugs are the concrete. So we're putting tile down this week. I'll get in there eventually. Like by the end of the year, I'll be in here. And I realized there's just no reason to rush. Like, let's get my studio just so. But he was like, oh, so you're not. I'm like, no. I'm like, and my only goal really is, like, there's no. I'm never with what I make gonna be like Mr. Beast or SS Sniper Wolf level of YouTuber. I'm like, but it would be cool to make enough money to like hire people that like I know to work for me. Like pay somebody to edit the videos because I hate editing and it's I realized like if I were to start a real a big business that wasn't just me getting on YouTube, like I would want to hire all of you guys. It's like I would hire Kenny and Thanos and Oz and like I would just want to make a big company that specifically our whole job was doing stuff together. So that was a very long way of saying like I adore you guys and I wish I was rich so we could all work together, but not in a creepy Mr. Beast way where I'm exploiting you. So there we go. That was our moment of kumbaya for today. Back to unhinged, off the rails snark. I'm just catching up on chat really quick. Yeah, I'm glad you're able to still do that, Banish. Like, there's shitty people who do jobs like that. It's good to know that you, who are a good person, are doing a job like that. Yeah, I don't like customers. I did retail. I worked at Blockbuster for way too long. And whenever I go grocery shopping, I have a really hard time not, when I see somebody being like a bad customer, it's really hard to mind my own business and just, not call them out. Because that actually just makes the situations worse. And you can then leave the store. The employee cannot. So once you piss that person off more, then the employee and the staff and everyone still have to sit there and deal with it. So unless somebody's being physically violent or, like if they're being racist or like sexist or harassing somebody, that's different than someone just being an asshole. I mean, if they're being those things, like, yeah, call them out because And if you have a camera phone, break it out, because sometimes they will calm the shit down when they think, oh, this is going to end up on the internet. Yeah, there's never an excuse for being like that. I don't care how bad your day is. There's no excuse for talking to people like that. I mean, if somebody needs to be, like, what is it? Reading is fundamental. So if somebody needs to be read, that's different. But if you can't read somebody without racial slurs or sexism or whatever, then you shouldn't be reading anyone, because you're not properly equipped for the emotional maturity that comes from ripping somebody another one. All right, there we go. Excellent. All right, the water is starting to look suitably watery. Now we're going to dirty it up a little bit, because that is too clean for water and coffee. Yeah, here we go. It's super dark, but I think it's the dark that we need. And it is called, oh, this is black. Wait, that's not the one I wanted to grab. Oops, there we go. Better. Wait, that's black. Here we go. Excellent. You put a lot of brown in the water, but just enough so you know that there's dirt on the ground and the water is lapping it up. For the brown, I'm not going to put brown in all of the water. I'm just going to put it in some spots. So, yeah. I had a friend who worked for a jeweler, and then they let her out of the store in handcuffs because she was the person stealing. Yeah, customers are pretty terrible. So. Oh, I was like, wait, who am I missing in chat? Thank you, CJ, for clearing that up. Oh no, I missed somebody getting here. Thank you, because I literally was about to scroll back through all the chat. All right, I think our water is probably dirty enough. I'm gonna set this one aside, the huntsman, because I will use it after I do the rest of this alley. And then for the rest of it, I'm gonna actually just do like purple for the ground. That'll help tie it in up here, but I need a darker purple. So. I think this will probably. Yeah, this will work. Especially once I start layering stuff in there. Let's get that sharpened. Also, I'm going to put the duck music on because it just occurred to me how quiet it is because apparently all the kittens have gone to sleep. Well, hello, Dave. Thank you for popping in and have fun at the con. That's still too loud. All right. There we go. All right. Sorry about that. I added a bunch of new media assets for the various live streams. And in that, I have had to adjust the volume so that y'all can hear the sound clips. But then the music is too loud when I put the music on. Oh, looks like I've missed something all over here. Look at it in this. Oh my goodness. So one of the kittens had me into is a tuxedo cat. has basically like is shadowing me, and he's asleep under the desk right now. And, yeah, he is a sweet boy. Very needy though. Very needy. And I just look down and he's down there sleeping. So hopefully when well, not hopefully, when the studio is set up, I have a way fixed where in theory the cats will be able to, when I do live streams where I'm actually on, like my face is on the stream, you should be able to see cats. So I got like a cat tree thing. Let me see if I can get it set up. Just because, you know, you're so much a part of my life. No, I'm excited to get the tile in here this week. It's one of those things though, I'm afraid I'll get the tile done and then I'll be like, oh wait, I need this now. But again, if that happens, then I'll just get what I need for it. It's mainly just like sort of the basic stuff that, like the floor needs to, you know, like even with the rugs and stuff and the carpet we've put in, concrete, the parts of it that are concrete, it's gonna be really hard on that feet, even with shoes. So there's sort of the practical, like comfort side of it, where as you get older, you have to be aware of those things. But when I'm getting the library set up, so we'll have to do a tour of that. I'm sure how I'm gonna. I don't know. I should stop worrying about how to fit it into the channel and just fully embrace the fact that this channel is just whatever interests me. And the fact that there's a lot of coloring and toy stuff on it is just part of the overall vibe. But yeah, I'm putting the library together as well. So that'll be fun. And we've gotten of the like 36 long boxes of comic books I have, we've gotten 24 of them transplanted to new smaller boxes that are easier to carry. They're these full canvas, technically they're not really long boxes, but these are not. But it's basically made like these canvas containers made for comic books. And so we've got like 28 of the 36 boxes transplanted. I have to go through and organize everything better. But it's a lot easier to do that when it's in smaller, more easily liftable containers than those stupid long boxes. Let me tell you, I moved sort of the last of those long boxes were bought in 2012, and I moved like 3 times with 36 comic book long boxes, and only one of them I paid movers to help with. When we moved into this house, we got paid for a moving company to move everything, and it's the only time I have not regretted having 36 long boxes full of comic books, because somebody else had to lift all of them. Or it wasn't my friend I was paying with like pizza. That's how you know you have too much stuff and you have friends who help you move whenever people are like, you should just get rid of some of this. It's like, no, that's not how it works. I'm a collector, which is the PC term for hoarder. You just don't find a bunch of dead rats in my stuff. That's the difference between a hoarder and a collector. Is the hoarder has like trash and dead rats in their stuff. Collectors just have a lot of stuff. Hello, Todd. Lovely to see you today. Thank you for... I was going to say show up, but that sounds like thank you for being here. Muchly appreciated. I know, right? I am getting better, but it's still hit or miss. It's still hit or miss. Wait. Wanted to see what Dennis was saying. I love seeing how that's coming along. Oh. Hello, Alex, did I miss saying hi? If so, I apologize. I feel like we talked during the Wonder Woman thing, but I don't know if I properly said hello. So hello, Alex. That means that whenever they do that with FedEx, it means that they overloaded the truck and didn't get to you, or the driver got sick and left early. So, yeah. Well, you know. Well, just since you're here as Moby's representative, let him know that no matter what he says, no matter what he does, he will always be trash. Somebody said the other day that Moby was like Timu Morrissey, and I'm like, I will let that ride because Morrissey also sucks. And then when somebody actually likes Moby, they like, oh my god, Moby is not. Moby does this, Moby does that. So it's a good way to figure out who the actual secret Moby stan is. Because if you call them Timu Morrissey, they actually fight to like correct you. And at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if they're like or not. It's just you have to find out who in your life actually likes Moby, so you know that they're not okay. Because people who like a song or two by Moby, like, they're fine. Like, we all like, I like a Phil Collins song. And we all know he's terrible. But, you know, like, you can like, I liked that song by Rebecca Black. She's cool. The song is not so much, but I love it ironically now. Because it just reminds me of, you know, like, back when it came out. I don't like any Bryan Adams songs, though. Unfortunately, thank God. That's, you know, that's always been the case. It was, you know, like, I don't know if he's actually a terrible person or not. I just know his music has always been terrible to me. But yeah. And it's sad because, like, the Smiths, when Morrissey was a member of them, had some great songs. It's a shame Morrissey turned into such a Carl. He's like a British Carl. So, like, Coral. Oh, I wonder if that's why the guy on The Walking Dead says Coral instead of Carl, because he's English faking a southern accent. And Carl is one of those words where I bet it would be really hard to hide a British accent. So he just has to go with Coral. Well, you learn something new every day. Yeah, it is like that a lot lately, so, you know, it's hard, but I mean, what I will say is there are a lot of people who luckily I haven't run into anyone that I was very, very, very attached to that I've had to unsupport because they are terrible people. I think for me the hardest one, and this is not necessarily recent, but one of the hardest ones is one of my favorite movies is Rosemary's Baby. And obviously Roman Polanski has some issues, some big issues, and for a really long time, the whole situation of that was really sort of soft pedaled in a certain way. And some of that is because of our changing understanding of issues in the United States over time. You know, when that hit, it was less about the age and, you know, like, well, she was there. You know, it was sort of like framed in a really specific way that was really in line with the way the world worked back in the 70s. But now that we're all smarter and we've evolved a little bit, some of us, some people are still stupid. But in general, the culture has shifted. We have a better understanding of why that was never okay, regardless of what we sort of thought, what society thought. But I, you know, like I did have, you know, like I also studied the Manson family in college as part of my, when I wanted to be a profiler or somebody who worked in law enforcement identifying cults. You know, and I was, you know, like I saw Silence of the Lambs and wanted to be Jodie Foster, without the bad accent and the brown hair, of course. But so I, you know, spent, you know, and I started studying all of that like in middle school or whatever because it was just an interest. So because of the Manson family connection with Polanski and sort of what, you know, they killed his wife and his baby, I had a lot more sympathy for him back in the day. So, you know, but that is, again, it changed over time as I sort of figured out, whoa. In most of his movies, I was fine. Like, most of his, you know, I didn't see Chinatown until, like, 2017. Yeah, 2017 was the first time I saw Chinatown. Great movie. Just unfortunate, not something I'm going to be watching again or able to support. But Rosemary's Baby was really, really hard because it's one of my favorite movies. It's a very well constructed movie. It's a horror movie where for a lot of the movie you're not really sure whether or not what Rosemary thinks is happening is actually happening. Like there's kind of a doubt for a big chunk of it that maybe she is just, you know, sort of paranoid and, you know, you don't want to think that's the case because Mia Farrow does such a great job in that role. But at the same time, like, you know, sort of watching, the first time you watch it, you are kind of like, well, maybe she is, you know, it is just all in her head, which is why it's such an effective movie because you can, it's constructed in a way where you can see her side of it as well as everyone else's side. And I used to watch it a lot. And that was one of the things where I finally had to say, like, you know, but I haven't given up Rosemary's Baby. I just don't recommend it to people. When people are like, what's a great movie to watch? I do not say Rosemary's Baby. You know, if people come over and we're going to watch a movie, I'm not going to put in Rosemary's Baby. If I feel the need to watch it, I'll watch it, but I'm not going to, I don't celebrate that movie anymore. I don't know if that makes any sense. But for me, that movie has meaning that transcends the guy who directed it. So I'm going to allow it to remain relevant to me on my terms. But I'm not, it's the same with 16 Candles. I love that movie. There's so much wrong with that movie now. I did not recommend to my niece when my niece was like of the age where you would normally say, oh, you should watch 16 Candles. I didn't do that. I rewatch 16 Candles regularly for my own nostalgia of it, my own enjoyment of it. But I did not tell my niece she should watch this. I think I told her to watch Clueless. So far as I can tell, Clueless is mostly held up. So I told her like Clueless. I didn't tell her anything from the 80s with teenagers because most of that is not aged well. And doesn't mean like we're gonna cancel it or like it just means don't recommend those movies to kids. Like recommend newer stuff that is better for them. And we're in their 20s and 30s, then you could say, oh well, 16 Candles, here's the deal. When they're old enough and smart enough to understand, with 16 Candles specifically, there's a lot of Asian racism in there. Like Long Duck Dong is a racist character. Like there's no way around it. It's not, it's not like, oh well, it's only racist if you're. No, it's a racist caricature. There's a lot of consent issues in that movie. Like there's a lot of stuff in that movie that would get you literally arrested in this day and age and put on a list. Like a registry list. So yeah, we're not recommend, but if somebody hits 25, 30, when my niece is 25 or 30, I might be like, hey, let's watch this movie that meant a lot. So you can see what it was like growing up in the 80s and the terrible messages they gave us. And, when she's old enough to understand, but I wouldn't, I'm just not going to recommend stuff. I don't think we should throw movies away, but we just need to learn, and books as well. Like, we just need to learn now. When they have elements like that, we need to recommend them when people are older and smart enough. And, like, I'm going to assume my niece will be older and smart enough one day for it, but if something terrible happens and she becomes a troglodyte, I'm never going to recommend it to her. If she's not going to be smart enough to, like, understand what the issues are, I'm not going to recommend it to her. But I'm sure she'll be fine. She's pretty smart so far. Far more, like, as the kids say, woke than I am. As it should be. Like, she's 17. Like, the kids are supposed to be. I was way more progressive in my thinking than any of the adults in my life at that age. I think that's how it should be. I think the kids should always be way more progressive than the adults because they're the ones who should be pushing the culture forward. So, anyway, sociology with Alice. Let's see what I missed. All right, let's see. Here we go. Yeah, Fright Zone is amazing. I am very happy about it. I am glad, though, it's going to be going up. One, it's going to be on Mattel for like 15 days. And then it's also allegedly going to be up on Amazon, Big Bad Toy Store, and Entertainment Earth. So I'm less afraid that I'm going to have to get it first day. Which is good. I can wait till payday where it's easier to justify dropping $100 on a playset. Oh, that would make sense. So yeah, it definitely wouldn't have been his summer of 69. Yeah, it's true. And it's, it's hard. Ew. Ew, Kenny. You just put that in my head of Bryan Adams. Ew. Do you guys remember in the 90s when Bryan Adams tried to go grunge? And there was a video of him like with eyeliner and his hair was dyed black, and I want to say he was like in a sequin jacket, but my brain could just be adding that to make it even more ridiculous. I think the name of the song was "The Only Thing That Looks Good on You Is Me." That's your pop culture homework for the week. After the stream, go find that video. And I'm telling you, the first time I saw it, it dropped in the 90s, of course, and I was in college. Lord only knows which is why the sequin jacket could just be my brain adding stuff that wasn't there. But I remember watching it on MTV when I was in college after getting home from the club and cackling because it was just so. It was like a fever dream. Bryan Adams with eyeliner, trying to be grunge, and like, I think at the time he was probably like, what, 35, 40? But anyway, that's your homework for pop culture for the week. Go look on YouTube after the stream for that video. And my mom really, she loved Bryan Adams. She loved U2. She loved Bruce Springsteen. I hated all of that when I was a kid because my mom listened to it all the time. Bryan Adams is the only one that I haven't been able to find an appreciation for as an adult. Anything he has gotten worse for me. And I'm not sure why. It's not like his music is really technically that bad, but just something about Bryan Adams. Maybe it's just because every time I see him now, I think about him with the black eyeliner, trying to go grunge. Looking like like your dad trying to go grunge for like, as a joke for like Halloween or something. And he was serious, y'all. He was serious that he was going to be like grunge. Well, I don't think he was serious. I think, obviously the record company was like, this is what the kids like. And then they got him on the video set and somebody made him look like that. Oh my god. I'm going to have to watch it when the stream is over myself just so I can laugh. Laugh like it's 1990 something again and I've just gotten back from the club after too many Jello shots. Yeah, it would have been, back then it would have been Zima, Jello shots, and Long Island iced tea evenings. Those were my drinks in college. And you'd always start with the Zima because you'd be like, I'm not going to drink a lot tonight, you guys. I'm going to get up early for class. And then okay, but just one Jello shot, you guys, just one. And then we go home, right? And then somebody puts ABBA on, and then you're all out dancing. You're like, okay, I guess we'll just do another Jello shot. And then it's like, I'll just have one Long Island iced tea. Oh, college. Even when I wasn't in college, even once I stopped going to college, that was still sort of club rules. It was always like, I'm just gonna have one. Just have and then when they stopped making Zima, it was always like a hard lemonade or whatever. It was Jack Daniel's hard. Oh my god, so ridiculous. I think that's why the 90s was so funny. We all took ourselves so seriously. It was all so ridiculous. I haven't brought Zima back with all sort of the 90s nostalgia, I think. I mean, they brought Clear Pepsi back, and that was dreadful. That is an excellent song. That one has aged well. Like, that one has aged well. That one's still a banger. Oh my god, right? I liked the idea of Chris Gaines. It was terrible that the music was so... Like, I thought it was a fun idea. Like, you know, and he had the goal was with that was it was going to be like a movie and it was like going to be multimedia. It was like a whole thing. But the Chris Gaines thing was so ridiculous that he just crashed and burned. He did not get the right writers. Oh my God. John Bon Jovi is rolling over in his grave. I'm kidding. He's alive, I guess. More or less. Alright, let's see. I need to figure out. I guess we'll do red for the can. It shouldn't be too much with the red up there, especially if I do. Let's start out with this brown bug again. Yeah, and that way it will be darker than what we do with Harley Quinn. Yeah, we're doing pretty good on time. It's an hour and 15 minutes in. We just have all the little bits of garbage and then we'll move to Harley Quinn. I'm actually feeling better as the stream goes, so that is not usually the case whenever I'm not feeling well. So we are going to take that as a sign. Alright, let's see. Chestnuts. We'll do this red. Here we go. All right, that works. Now let's try the color in. So I'm going to go with sort of this sort of orangey yellow. It's called Nugget. It's kind of like a golden yellow. And that'll help sort of tie in the garbage to the walls and stuff. All right, let's see. No, everything else is just garbage. So I'm gonna go in. Most of this is not gonna need. It shouldn't stand out. So I'm just gonna go in with this Huntsman. Put down some layers over all of the trash. And I'll go in with some other browns. Swatching brown, chestnut. And this chestnut is again a reddish brown, so that'll keep it from blending into the sort of stains on the wall. Alright, trash is done, so that leaves the stuff I'm going to do paints and Harley Quinn. So, really quick, I'm going to Google this particular Harley Quinn costume. It's a little bit different than what I'm used to. And I'm not going to worry about getting it just exact, but I just want to kind of slightly better idea. All right, there we go. And I am looking at some gorgeous Nicola Scott art. All right, there we go. Perfect. And she is one of my favorite comic artists, so that's perfect. Okay, so it's the one where she has the really pale blue and the pink, but is mostly blonde. And then she doesn't have white skin, but she has very pale skin. So very good. Very nice. Quickly, I'm just going to start with her skin. This is not going to be sort of the final. We're just going to get it covered. It'll help with everything else. And then I'll go in and sort of touch it up with some other color. I'm not sure how well this will read on camera because it's a very, very light shade. It's called Merc from one of the Black Widow skin sets. But it's showing up for me on the paper. So it'll probably show up more too once I get more color on here. But it helps me sort of see what I'm doing. This is probably the only color I will use on her face skin. I mean, I'll do like lipstick and stuff. But as far as skin, this is pretty close. Because she's not actually, in this look, got sort of the white pancake makeup on. It's more that she's just super pale. So I don't think her skin, the face, is going to need much more. And there's some sort of white makeup-ish on there. All right, now red. I'm going to use the deep red. Start getting the parts of her costume that she will. Hello, Rowdy. Lovely to see you. Thank you for popping in. Having a day at work, Thanos. Thanks for hanging out. Muchly appreciated. You know, like, yeah. But at the same time, sometimes people do and sometimes they don't. It is too bad though, as far as Southernisms, we've lost Bless Your Heart. Like, it was really cool when people didn't realize that Bless Your Heart was basically go F yourself. But now the people know. I've replaced it with I love that for you, because there's no way for that to be misconstrued as anything other than sarcasm. And if I don't get to have the subtle sarcasm of Bless Your Heart, then I don't need it. I'm just gonna go with I love that for you. So. I wonder how long this costume lasted for Harley Quinn. Because it looks like on all the new comics, it's completely different. I guess the days of characters actually having costumes for more than like a run is over. I kind of miss that. I kind of miss that costumes used to last for like decades. I also blame X-Men movies for moving us to a place where costumes now have to look like sportswear. It was a great movie, but, you know, sometimes you just need Superman in his underwear. And Wonder Woman in the Star-Spangled Banner bikini. And the whole move to like sportswear and stuff is sort of part of, in my opinion, the whole like, we have to make comics seem more like serious so that people don't make fun of us for reading them. And just sort of, you know, like I personally am tired of dark and gritty and realism in my comics. Like I miss Kite Man and, you know, Wonder Woman's sort of ridiculous villains like the Angle Man and the Glop, and I don't know. I sort of like when comic books just got to be ridiculous. I would love if we could get back to that. I assume her little pom-poms are supposed to be red on this side and black on the other. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I don't think we're going to end the world if some of my costume choices today, the coloring of them, are incorrect. I say that and somebody will slide into the comments later and be like, oh my god, you ruined Harley Quinn. Have you never read a single comic? I'd be okay with that. Hello, Mint with Card. Mint with Card will be here with me in a couple weeks. I think like 2 weeks from now. Next week is Brick, and I think the week after is Mint with Card. So we are, I believe, if I'm remembering correctly, going to color some Princess of... So feel free to correct me if I'm misremembering Mint with Card. Okay, yeah, and then this glove over here is the red one. Alright, doing all right. We've got 30 minutes left. I think we can do it. I think we can do it, y'all. I think we can do it. I say that and I don't think we can actually do it, but we're going to pretend that we can finish this one today. And I'm going to do this. Try to keep the coloring stuff, how it's sort of all crisscrossed with the way the coloring is. I'm trying to keep that consistent. So I'll do the inside of the jacket. Go in with the darker red for the interior. Here we go. Excellent. All right, there we go. I'm gonna look very balanced color-wise because of the pose she's in, but we know it's correct. I think it's fine. I'm not gonna stress about it. It'll be fine. This is the stuff that stresses me out. You just can't tell on a short or a coloring video. It's sped up and there's music. But I do spend a lot of time second guessing color schemes, hoping it all works. Well, hello, Triple D. Lovely to see you today. Thank you for popping in. Excellent. I was pretty sure, but, you know, it's still early in the day. And for me. All right. It is looking very red. All right. Put some red onto the shoe. So over here, I'm going to do sort of the reverse of the color scheme I'm going to do over here. So, you put down the first bit of red on the lip, but I'm going to go with a different red on top of that. Oh, can't operate. Alright, so I'm not sure what these circles are supposed to be, if that's supposed to be like where the pink of the cheek would go or what. So that's what we're going to do. Put some pink right there. Like it's an artistic choice that doesn't quite work, but I didn't draw the book, I'm just coloring it, so I'm gonna give the dude a little grace. Because I did use the same artist for this entire book, and there are a lot of pages and a lot of characters in this book. And so I'm gonna put a little red and pink. Which should help it stand out a lot more. Here we go. Alright, let me find the black. And then a bunch of this is just going to be hitting all the things I didn't get with the red. So. Looks like her choker is also supposed to be black, so let's do that real quick. There we go. This costume feels like somebody at DC editorial said, we need something that looks kind of like what she wore in the movie, but not quite. Or this is the the outfit from the comics that the movie used. Either way, I'm not a fan of this costume. Yeah, I don't like that either. I like the idea of comics and movies existing as two separate things. I mean, I think it's cool when like a movie adapts something from a comic book, but I don't think the comics. This could be a hot take. I don't know. Since I don't really take part in comic book forums or discussions anymore. I feel like the movies there should always be drawing from the comic books, and I don't think the comic book should be like, you know, like if you do a Teen Titans movie, right, and they go back to classic Teen Titans, you know, Wolfman Perez era, like, and they do a comic book where they bring those characters back together, and like that's one thing. Like I don't mind that, but I don't like when they start changing storylines, origins, backgrounds, etc., so that it matches what the movie did. You know, like it's fine if you know you want to, yeah, and obviously you should try to take advantage of that synergy. So you know, if you want to, you know, make a Guardians of the Galaxy comic book where it has the movie characters on a team, yeah, that's fine. But it shouldn't necessarily, like, it should at least be comic book continuity. But like that's one of the places where they keep messing, you know, when they're like trying to figure out why people have stopped reading comic books or why more people aren't. It's like, yeah, people who see the movies might want to read comics because they might want more story. But if you're just switching everything so that it matches the movie, they're not getting a new story. Whereas if you sort of stay with the continuity of the comics, which is different than the movies, then they're getting different story. And then there's some incentive to go buy trade paperbacks and whatnot so they can catch up on the story that they missed and get caught up on the comic book continuity. And just, I don't know. It seems like whoever is doing most comics is sort of, yeah, because Batman didn't, you know, back when the Batman movie hit really big. Yeah, there were tie-in comics that were specifically meant to tie into the movie, but they didn't like change everything in the comic books. I think they brought Vicky Vale back for a little bit and made her part of the comics again. But it wasn't, you know, like it was Vicky Vale as she had existed in the comic books. Like after Batman Returns, the Penguin and Catwoman sort of came back and were used, but it's not like didn't suddenly change, you know, Selena Kyle to be the character from the movie. And she wasn't suddenly like a blonde and Michelle Pfeiffer. I think the Batman animated series made her blonde. But comic book Selena remained a brunette. I think she's still a brunette, last I checked. So I don't know. It's weird to me that I think some of it though is just it's not a lot of the people making those decisions aren't actual comic book fans. Like back in the day, back in the 80s, most of the editors had been fans of the comic books and have been reading the comic books for years. So they sort of had an understanding of sort of the comic audience as it was, and it feels like executives, again, it feels like sort of corporations stepping in thinking, well, this is what synergy should be, without sort of actually understanding the medium. So, I don't know. It's frustrating. I mean, I stopped reading monthly comics because I got tired of the constant reboots and comic books trying to chase the mythical brand new audience instead of sort of writing stuff the existing audience is going to enjoy. There's bumps, never. You know, like the Death of Superman thing brought a bunch of new people to read comic books and buy comic books, but just because they wanted sort of the collector's item, you can make a lot of money. And you can buy all of that stuff for $4 or $5 now. Like, you are not making money off those comic books. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. You know, that kind of stuff is just frustrating. Technically this belt is supposed to be black, but it's going to get lost. So we're going to split the belt up the same way the rest of the costume is. We'll do the side black where it's all red. And then we'll go over here to do the red. And we'll use a different red. Hopefully. No, that works. You do the hair tie on this side black, and you do the hair tie on that side red. Alright. And we're going to do her hammer. I have a Harley Quinn action figure from the Superhero Girls line. And so I'm going to use the colors that I remember, so I don't have it in front of me. And use the colors for that, because I want some blue in this. I mean, her eyes, I believe, are blue. I'm going to double check that in a second. I know Margot Robbie's eyes are like blue. I'm pretty sure Harley Quinn is blue. That's why the outfit looks weird. I forgot this side. Oh, goodness. All right, I've only got like 6 minutes left. So definitely not going to finish today. Even if I went an extra 5 to 10 minutes, there's still too much. The hair is going to take a while. I'm going to finish the belt. And time always just hits a point where it just takes off and flies. So, I am going to go ahead and do the barbed wire and the wire that I wanted to do with the silver gel pen. Since it won't be until next time that I do the hair and finish the skin, this will have time to dry so that it won't smear. And that gets us a lot closer to done. I've already got for July a whip string planned, so we might finish this as part of that. Also, I want to do more pages from this book, so we might just do another supervillain live stream where I finish this and then start a new page. And for that, I'll do a poll on what for the supervillain this book. For that, I will do a poll on my community post place to pick which villain to do next. Because while it is tempting to do the Joker, I do a lot of Joker stuff. I say a lot. I've done like 3 Joker pages. There are a lot of villains in this book that are pretty rare and obscure, or I've never colored before, so I'd like to try to do somebody new. So I'll put a poll up. We'll finish if I decide not to do this as part of the whip, and I'll pick another villain so that when I finish the Harley Quinn next time, we can just start another page. There's that. Some drying. So yeah, I need to do the rest of the mallet, her skin, her hair, and the graffiti. So yeah, it's at least 40 minutes to an hour of stuff. So all right, so yeah, this is as good as it gets today, which is, it's still pretty good. I got a lot done. All of this, most of Harley Quinn, is about 50% done. And she looks pretty good. She's getting there. Thank you. Thank you, Kenzo. And thanks everyone for hanging out today. And again, I'm sorry about Friday night. Once Cobb and I get rescheduled, that'll go back up. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too. And this is a really fun book. There's also another DC book coming out in August to celebrate 90 years of DC Comics, which is boggling to the mind. So yeah, there will be definitely more DC, but I think at least one more live stream with an obscure. Like for instance, there's some Doom Patrol villains in there, which are super obscure, but would be fun. So we'll figure it out. I'll do a poll, and we can pick sort of a obscure or even not obscure per se, but just somebody that hasn't been in a movie or something. Anyway, on that note, we are at the 2-hour mark. So I'm going to wrap it up. I thank you everyone for hanging out. I appreciate you all. It's I really like doing this. I enjoy like last week and next week when I have guests. But it's also fun just to hang out and ramble at y'all. And it seems like none of y'all mind that either. So I mean the unhingedness of it all alone. Really quick, if you have not checked them out, I've dropped several shorts this last week of Blade Runner. 3 of them are original art that I did. It's my first real art in forever. And then the press is my good friend Dora Raymaker, and she's also a published author. She's really good. She writes sort of cyberpunk stories, so I enjoy her. She's in my writers group as well. So that's happening. Tomorrow will be a flip through of the 1979 Battle of the Planets coloring book, along with a page I scanned and printed and colored from that, which will lead into next Sunday's stream on Sunday with the one and only Brick Something. So definitely come hang out with us next week. Brick is a wealth of knowledge, so it's always fun when he hangs out. Let's see, next Saturday there will be a G.I. Joe toy booklet, and next Friday, Color and Chill will be Triclops cardback art. So, and then shorts. There will be shorts through the week. Some superhero stuff, some Motu stuff, Golden Girl. I've got a She-Hulk dropping next Saturday as the short, so some fun stuff. Anyway, on that note, thank you all, as always, for hanging out. I appreciate you. I will see you all again in the next one. Oh, wait. Don't forget to do the YouTube things. Like, subscribe, set the bell notifications. Yeah, and then go look up the Bryan Adams video. The only thing that looks good on you is me. And just, because I'm going to do it too, so we will all be cackling together, even though we're not in the same room. Anyway, on that note, I will see you all again in the next one. Bye.